The cooler weather is going to be moving in over the weekend, and we're going to be updating you there on those temperatures. A nice little drop in temperatures coming up by Sunday.
And we are talking to an expert about why the Atlantic is seemingly quiet as we get closer to the peak of hurricane season.
And we update you on the latest drought monitor and talk about how it can impact wildfires as we head into the fall months.
Live on your side. First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
And we are so glad to have meteorologist Tania Michelle back with us here for Weather Extra. And Tania, I got to admit, I thought we'd go a little bit cooler on those temperatures today, but we actually had mid upper 80s in a few spots out there. But this system over the northern Gulf it just has all the models all over the place right now.
It does, and some areas really only did reach low 80s today, especially areas south that didn't get. Well, they got more rain than areas to the north. So we're okay, but it did warm up hotter than what we expected in many areas.
Yeah, it's been a challenging forecast this week. And kind of interesting because we have this low pressure system over the northern Gulf, and as we were talking about yesterday, it still could develop into a tropical system. And until we see what's going to happen with that thing as well, it's kind of a tricky forecast. And now the Hurricane Center also talking about possible tropical development. We're seeing some clouds right now across our area. It's 81 at Coleman. We're seeing dew points around 70. We've got calm conditions at this time. That's a live look from WKUL, and we'll check out some of our sky vision views. I was noticing a few showers south of Tuscaloosa. No rain for us in Jasper. It's dry, and the temperatures out there this evening are going to feel nice. We'll cool off into the 70s, and we'll enjoy some nice conditions if you want to get a walk in. Not seeing a lot of wet weather, just a few scattered showers for right now. We're dry at Birmingham, Alabaster, Coleman, back to the east. It's cloudy, but all the rains to the south. But notice there's a little bit of rain around the Auburn area. Looks like maybe a little stray shower not far from Rockford, but we're seeing a little bit of light rain around Utah, and that's starting to spread in from the south. So parts of Greene County, and giving you the first alert if you're around Aliceville, perhaps a little bit of rain moving in from the south direction there. We'll keep a watch on this, but starting to see, again, some of these showers going for a closer look, and this is around Bola G, Allison, Utah. You can see over towards Walden Quarters. Here's State Highway 43 there with some of that rain stretching from Forkland to Utah, but a lot more of this wet weather back to the west, and clearly you can see there's a circulation going on in here, that low pressure over the northern Gulf of Mexico, and not a classic what we call warm core low type setup at this time. That's when you start to see that tropical cyclone development. But what's going to happen here as it stays over the warm waters of the northern Gulf of Mexico, we may see a closed off low develop, and it could actually drift to the south, as some models suggest. Look at that. It takes the system, kind of wobbles there to the south direction over the next couple of days. But we're still, regardless, we're going to catch the north end of this. And you can see it's kind of a struggle for some of this rain to overcome the dry air that's been in place. It's kind of a battle going on. I still think we could have some showers tonight and tomorrow, but the greater chance really looks like areas to the south. Unfortunately, I can't promise everybody is going to receive a soaking rain. Areas to the south may be a bit more steady. But we're going to be watching a lot of features happening out in the tropics right now, but no concerns for any immediate threats from any significant tropical system. If you do have a trip planned, again, there will be some rain down along the coast. We're going to be watching those areas, and also that greatest chance for rain south. But some nice weather, some cooler temperatures coming up for our weekend. But even though we're tracking multiple systems in the Atlantic and, of course, the Gulf of Mexico, meteorologist Lauren Linehan joins us now as she speaks with an expert on why this season has been unusually quiet.
Well, we are just 5 days away from the climatological peak of hurricane season on September 10th, when historically the Atlantic Basin comes to life. But it's been over 3 weeks since Hurricane Ernesto developed. So what is the culprit behind this unusual lull in activity? I'm joined now by Dr. Phil Klotzbach, Senior Tropical Research Scientist at Colorado State University, to help better dissect the science. Dr. Klotzbach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Lauren.
So what are some of the factors contributing to it being so unusually quiet this hurricane season? Right now, at least, we're in a lull.
Yeah. I mean, it's been remarkable. I mean, we got off to a very fast start. We had Hurricane Beryl, the earliest Category 5 on record. We had 3 hurricanes through August 14th. Everything looked to be off and running. And then, like you said, it's just gotten completely quiet. And there's no signs of like a massive upturn in activity in the next few days, which is quite surprising given all the seasonal outlooks from our group at CSU and other groups as well, calling for an extremely busy season. There seem to be a couple of big factors going into kind of knocking storms down recently. I think the biggest one is that the area where these systems are coming off Africa, so we have these easterly waves or thunderstorm complexes coming off of Africa, they've generally been emerging too far to the north. They've been coming off of places like northern Mauritania, even western Sahara. That's too far north. They encounter cooler water. They also tend to bring in dry air deeper into the tropics. Now, more recently, we've actually had systems coming off at lower latitudes, but we've had generally very low vertical wind shear, which is conducive for storms. But in the last few days, that vertical wind shear has increased substantially. So now there are some areas in the deep tropics that are trying to form, but the shear is really pretty prohibitive. So right now it looks like, storm formations in the next few days are still fairly suppressed. But certainly there are still some chances out there. So certainly still don't want to write off the hurricane season. The climatological peak, as you mentioned, is September 10th. Overall, the large scale environment does look to get more conducive as we get more towards the middle of September. So there is still a potential for a busy second half of the season.
And I was noting in your report that you and your team released that you were mentioning that upper level temperatures in the atmosphere have actually been anomalously warm. How could that relate to hurricane suppression?
Yeah, so, normally when the surface is warm, the upper level temperatures will also be somewhat warm. But this year, the temperatures high up in the atmosphere are a lot warmer than they have been. And so that tends to stabilize the atmosphere. So warmer ocean waters tend to provide more fuel for storms, but to get the strong thunderstorms, if the temperatures high up in the atmosphere are too warm, it tends to stabilize the atmosphere and suppress storm activity. So if we look, for example, at this year, difference from last year, both years had extremely warm waters in the Atlantic, but this year the upper level temperatures are somewhat warmer, likely driven somewhat by the El Nino that we had last summer, fall, and through the winter. That tends to warm the upper atmosphere.
And it's important to note that with the system that we're watching in the Gulf of Mexico, it's been bringing so much rainfall across the coast. And so that's why we're seeing more than 2 and even 3, in some places more than 4 or 5 inches of rainfall in the past 3 days. I mean, look at this. Closer to 5.5 inches of rainfall over towards the Victoria area on Texas's coast. It looks like Louisiana has been pounded with rainfall over 4 inches just south of Baton Rouge, and even some heavy rainfall extending into the Mississippi coast and over towards Alabama's coast, just along and really south of Mobile. So all that rain still accumulating and will over the next couple of days, all from that broad area of low pressure that we're watching in the Gulf of Mexico. But though things are quiet here, the Pacific Basin Typhoon Yagi is preparing to make landfall towards the end of the week. It's set to make landfall near the Chinese island of Hainan. We first brought you the story earlier in the week when it was still a tropical storm, but now winds of 150 miles per hour is equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane here in the Atlantic. Several tourist attractions on the island have been shut down due to the threat of massive and destructive winds.
Tania, in 30 seconds, we take a look at our forecast as well as talk about the updated drought monitor and how drought conditions can impact wildfires across the country. Well, time for a First Alert Weather Extra update on the kickoff forecast coming up this weekend. More game days on the way here and sideline tomorrow night. There could be some showers still around. I think the greater chance will be in areas to the south and east by 7 o'clock. And then as the night goes on, we'll see those rain chances decrease. Temperature-wise, not too bad. 71 around 8 o'clock. As we get closer to halftime there, around 70 degrees across the state. But a north wind takes over. Cooler, drier air flows in this weekend. Now, we'll still see highs in the low 80s, but there will be some clouds around Saturday for the first part of the day, but we will clear out by the evening. Notice Jacksonville State at Louisville showing 80 at kickoff time for folks traveling there. California at Auburn 82 at kickoff, 81 in T-Town, but those temperatures during the late afternoon, evening again tumbling into the 70s and 80 degrees there for UAB at La Monroe. If you are traveling, make sure you have the First Alert Weather app for more specifics on temperatures where you are. Of course, one thing that's been specific, the dry weather that we've had across parts of the area, and right now Tania joins us with an update on the drought monitor.
Yeah, Wes, it's really important to take a look at these updates every week. They update every Thursday, so we love to bring you the extra look on what's happening here across central Alabama. And I hate to say it, we haven't seen a whole lot of wet weather in many areas that are dealing with severe drought and have been over the last couple of weeks. So still seeing severe drought in parts of north and west central Alabama, over towards Lamar, Marion, almost all of Winston County, extending into Fayette County, and even to the northern portions of Pickens County. Most of central Alabama over and really experiencing moderate drought conditions, and a few spots with abnormally dry conditions in the far northeast portions of central Alabama over towards Cherokee County. But meteorologist Lauren Linehan joins us now with an update on how these drought conditions can impact the spread of wildfires.
Well, with drought expanding across Alabama, we want to look at the bigger picture to see what our risk is here if we were to say continuing to have periods of dry weather on into the fall, which is one of our driest seasons of the year. We have some data from Climate Central that shows where you have wildfire risk across the U.S. Here in Alabama, typically we have a medium wildfire risk to homes in our area. But as you look out across the western U.S., that is often where we associate with some of the tumultuous wildfires that we see here across the U.S. So they do have a higher risk on the west coast. But even as we look here a little closer to home in central Alabama and really the state of Alabama, you can see which areas are the most vulnerable. Actually, East Alabama, as you get into those higher elevations towards the lower Appalachians, and then even the southwest towards Mobile. And that wildfire risk has been made greater by things like climate change that we certainly analyze here on Weather Extra. But this is showing that 1.5 million people across Alabama are in areas where you see the red here that I just pointed out, and high or very high risk to home. So what factors into that wildfire risk? Well, it's three things: the hazards, the exposure, what type of land interaction do you have? Do you have infrastructure over wildfire land? That can cause an issue where you begin to see things like power lines more vulnerable to a wildfire risk, and also vulnerability. Do you have communities that are going to be more prone to seeing risk from wildfire? So it's certainly something we're always monitoring here on Weather Extra, but hopefully we'll get some beneficial rain in the days ahead.
And taking you across the country now to California, where the Bear Fire has grown to 3,300 acres. Crews are still working to build containment lines around the fire. It's currently at 0% contained, and schools in the Loyalton area are canceling classes for the remainder of the week. The National Forest Service saying the warm temperatures and strong winds are intensifying the fire.
Crews have had difficulty accessing some areas of the fire due to the steep and rocky terrain. In addition to that, road systems. We are getting dozer resources in to cut roads to allow engines and ground resources into the fire area.
The fire began Monday afternoon near the Sierra Brooks community. But still ahead, we continue to talk about your rain chances for your Friday, and we're going to take you on a Weather Extra trip to Georgia as we get ready to head into a beautiful Saturday and Sunday. We'll be right back.
All right, we got a lot of cloud cover overhead, but not a lot of rain at the moment. But tomorrow, we're still hanging on to a 70% chance for showers, and the forecast data really favoring areas to the south. You can see the battle here with the moisture and the dry air. Areas to the north, hopefully we'll see some of this rain lift in. Let me work through the data there. That's showing lunchtime tomorrow, and you can see some of those scattered showers. There's going to be some wet weather out there. You can see Tuscaloosa, Demopolis especially, places like Clanton. That's where we'll see some of those higher totals, and hopefully some of this can overperform and we can see some rain to the north, because after this it's dry and dusty the weekend and right on through most of next week. I know we were talking about that drought monitor, but as we take it on into Friday around 5 o'clock, you can see, well, there goes our window. That rain's going to move on by, and then we're looking at some clearing for the overnight. There is a cold front on the way. You can see at the very top of the screen there's some pop-up showers and maybe even a few storms along that front, but by the time that works south, you can see a lot of that's going to fall apart. So that's going to be into the weekend, that front that we're going to track, and that's why we're anticipating a nice drop in those temperatures. Saturday, maybe some clouds around early in the day. Those clouds should clear out, and then we go into Sunday, and we're going to start out with lows down into the 50s. Look at Sunday, 6 a.m. We'll stop it right there. 52 Gadsden, 51 Aniana, Coleman showing 50 degrees. Look at Tania, check it out. Some of the new data right there. Haleyville, 49 there to start the day. So, yeah, we see those kind of temperatures. You talk about fall vibes. Look at Jasper showing 49. So some new data coming in, going even cooler. That's just incredible there for early on Sunday. But just giving you the first alert for that cooler start. Monday, Tuesday, highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s. Next week, let's talk about the stretch dry weather I mentioned is going to hang on there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and next week. Notice there the Super 7-day. I'm showing you the work outdoors forecast. Just note that the ragweed pollen, it's rough right now. The grass pollen, it's also very dry out there. And I believe a lot of the trees, you can tell, we're starting to see some color in some of the leaves out there, but a lot of that's related to the drought stress across our region as well. But if you do a little yard work, I've dealt with this earlier in the week, you may need to do a little leaf cleanup as well. And next week looks like a good week to do that. Highs in the 80s, lows. There will be some 50s out there during the early morning hours, and looks like those afternoon highs again in the 80s. But we're going to talk more about beyond the 7-day forecast here in just a bit. Right now, though, want to share with you some lovely weather art, and it is time for Color the Weather. And check out this Color the Weather photo that was submitted by Lily. Lots of bright spring colors in that photo, and let's see, rainbows, we've got butterflies, we've got it all right there, and hopefully we can generate a little rain with those Color the Weather photos. And if you want to participate, let me tell you how to do this. If you go to our website, visit WBRC.com, look for Weather in the Classroom, and we have a link there for Color the Weather. And kids can find the coloring photos for fall, for spring. And we'll have various pictures there they can color and send those in, and we like to share those right here on Weather Extra. We need to add a Color the 10 and 7-day forecast, right, Tania?
Oh, yeah, Wes. I mean, listen, I think kids are just going to love this. What kid doesn't love to color anyways? Yeah, it makes weather fun.
It makes weather fun. And let me tell you quickly, though, I was going to mention how you can submit that. You can submit it on the weather app. So download the weather app.
Take a picture of it, send it into the app, and then we can share it right here.
Share it right here. There you go.
And I also want to share with you guys what that forecast looks like beyond the 7-day. Not really major changes from what we showed yesterday, but just giving you a better look here. As we look more than 7 days out, and more likely 14 days out, we could see a little bit of wet weather around for the following weekend, your Saturday and your Sunday. Some cloudier conditions. I do think that greatest rain chance next weekend, as of right now, is trending more on Sunday. So we did put a 20% chance there. But most areas should stay dry as of right now, partly cloudy skies. The big story is, as we look closer to 14 days out, we're seeing temperatures slightly warmer. We're getting away from those low 80s as we approach the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and seeing those highs there. Mid to upper 80s, closer to 88 degrees, and maybe even a few low 90s by the following Wednesday. Well, with these beautiful conditions on the way for your weekend here across Central Alabama, you may be wondering about how some fun activities you can do to soak up the cooler weather and the sun. Meteorologist Mickey Ferguson takes us on a trip to Georgia.
Day tripping. Where are we going today?
Cave Springs.
Cave Springs, Georgia. What's in Cave Springs?
water.
Water, they got spring water there at Cave Springs, and of course, a lottery ticket, because it's up to a lot. So we're going to take a day trip to Cave Springs, Georgia, go to some antique shops, eat at a steakhouse.
Eat at a steakhouse.
And get some water. So come along with us. So we took a road trip. The weather was nice, and anytime the weather's nice, we like to take a little day trip. So Cave Spring, Georgia, a lot of antique shops there on the square. She loves this particular shop that has tons of plants. They have fountains, they have bird baths, and she loves to go inside. She absolutely loves plants and antiques. Maybe that's why she loves me, because I'm a little older. I don't know. But we walked inside and she's like, okay, I'm going to meander around the shop here. And I said, go ahead, get lost. I'm going to go watch football on my phone for a while. Then I come back in the store and she's like, hey, let's buy this. And I said, no, we don't really need that. Why don't you put that back? She's like, can we get this right over here? I said, well, anyway, we ended up getting some things. And she just loves the decor there. There's that little boat with all kinds of neat trinkets in it and all kinds of antiques and Coke machines. Bigfoot carved. You got to get your picture made by Bigfoot. So really, really fun stuff there. We tried on some hats. Turns out she looks a little bit better in the festive hats than I do. Maybe it's not my color. I don't know. Lindy Marie's is a steakhouse there on the square. It's really neat. It has a nice decor. I don't think they take reservations, but we've never had any problem getting in. We've been a few times. I got the ribeye. She went with the filet, and they're both really good. They had some type of blue cheese butter on them. Really good. Right across the street, she got a milkshake. I got a double-decker ice cream cone. So that was nice. Then we went and got our spring water. It's called Cave Spring for a reason. They have this spring that is 99-point-something% pure spring water, and you just bring your jugs, you fill them up for free. There's no charge at all. I filled up several jugs. She filled up some jugs. She loves to make homemade teas. She gets all these teas from all over and makes them with spring water. It's really, really good. Lots of folks out there in the spring. They even have a
Well, we were showing a lot of clouds along the coast earlier, Tania, but Sharon Gill able to capture a lovely view from Orange Beach there. Or Garland Brock, I should say. Here's a photo from Sharon Gill. Lake.
Lake. We'll have more forecast updates for all of you tonight, first at 9. Have a wonderful evening. See you back here tonight.